Hello, and welcome to another episode of A Drip of a Lifetime podcast, with me, Celeste. Today I'm reviewing Wild Blue Yonder, which is the second of the 60th anniversary specials, which aired, as I'm recording, literally just an hour ago, on the 2nd of December. I forgot what day it was for a second. Oh boy, did this episode hone in on some of my biggest fears when it comes to horror movies. Like, I can handle body horror to a certain extent, but when they start, like, actually morphing and stretching like that, I just, I hate it. It's why, Jennifer Ganger creeps me the hell out in the Rebel Flash Almost People two-parter in Series 6. Jennifer Ganger has that exact same thing going on, and so the arms were freaky enough to me, right? And it's when the not 14th Doctor, almost a 10th Doctor then, the not 14th Doctor's mouth extends downwards, like I actually had to hide my face behind the blanket I was holding. Like, whenever people talk about how Doctor Who used to make them hide behind the sofa, I used to look at them weirdly, because never once, even with the Weeping Angel episodes, have I ever really, as scared as I was, had the urge to get up and get behind the sofa. Not that I can, because it's a gap against a wall in my living room. But today, I had that urge. Like, I was freaked the hell out. It was... Anyway, let's roll back a bit. Let's go back to the start of the episode. So 14 and Donna land on this mysterious spaceship. No, that's not even the start of the episode. I forgot. No, the cold open is such a random divergence from the rest of the episode. The cold open is we're introduced to Sir Isaac Newton, and he's sitting under the apple tree. The apple falls on his head, and then suddenly the TARDIS appears, and the Doctor and Donna give him the idea for the name of gravity, except he mishears and calls it mavity instead. And what's interesting is the two times the word gravity would normally be brought up. Well, the first time when Donna brings it up, she just straight out says mavity instead, whereas the second time the Doctor says gravity and then corrects himself to say mavity. And I just wonder, right? Like, I feel like that's got some sort of significance. Right, I don't feel like, unless he's gone balls to the wall, just because he can, that change has been made for a reason, and that'll come back in the next episode. Otherwise, it's just Russell altering the word to gravity to mavity in the Doctor universe just for a bit of a laugh, bit of a giggle. No pun intended for the name of the next episode. Which is interesting, but I feel like there's more to that. Anyway, so the Doctor and Donna land on this spaceship. The TARDIS is on fire because Donna last episode spilt a cup of coffee on the console, and it exploded and everything. And so then the TARDIS dematerializes along with the sonic screwdriver. I quite liked that. I liked that the Doctor couldn't rely on any kind of technology, any kind of quick fix. He had to use his own brain. The doppelganger thing was pretty cool. Like, so basically, the Doctor and Donna, they explore the ship. It's completely empty, no signs of life other than this small, very, very slow-moving robot. And so they end up separating, which, as soon as they did that, I think we all knew that was going to be a bad idea. So Donna stays in one room and feels around with these, like, circuit board type things, whereas the Doctor goes into another room and kind of starts tapping around with these what looks to be like water pipes. And then we cut back to Donna, and then the Doctor walks back in, and he's talking about how he fixed the pipes, and how they're probably working now. And then we switch back to the Doctor in the pipe room, and Donna comes in, and it's when we see Donna come in that we realise, oh shit, something isn't right. She's acting a bit odd. And then we switch back and we realise, oh no, these are happening at the same time. That's not the Doctor. That's not Donna. Something very fucking weird is going on. And then, of course, I think it's the Doctor. Was it the Doctor first? That says that his arms are too long. And then it gets into that whole body horror aspect that I've mentioned just earlier. Creeped me the hell out. Like, I hate Uncanny Valley type stuff. I hate it. It's weird. Ugh. And I think it plays on body horror and also the psychological horror really well. Like, at least for me, I know that I think this episode is going to be very subjective in terms of whether or not people are going to like it. Like, I feel like it's going to be a very Marmite episode. Like, Listen, right? Like, the Stephen Moffat's episode, Listen, which I think is in series 8. Yeah. I don't like that episode, but I know a lot of people love it. Whereas I feel like this episode I love, but I feel like a lot of people won't like it. Because not everyone likes or gets psychological horror. Not everyone gets freaked out by body horror. And in fact, I mean, if you're not scared, like I am, or really creeped out by, like, elongated limbs and jaws and things, then it's going to look a bit silly, I think. Also, I think a lot of people going into this episode, because of the amount of secrecy surrounding it, hell, in Doctor Who magazine there was, on the cast list, it says David Tennant, Catherine Tate, redacted. Now, we now know the reason why those names are redacted is because there was no one else in the episode, other than a brief cameo from one character at the end, which we'll get to. And it may have disappointed people that there wasn't anyone else, because I know a lot of people were hell, I mean, I got at least privately, I thought, oh, well, I had a list of characters that I thought were most likely to show up, but I was like, well, if no one shows up, I also would be fine, and no one did, so it doesn't bother me. But I know a lot of people were really hoping that Matt Smith would show up, that Freema Agyeman would show up, that Peter Capaldi, I heard his name been thrown out, I heard George Tennant's name, hell, I heard Jenna Coleman get thrown about a bit, and as well as Alex Kingston as River. I think, and of course John Sims Master. They were all the kind of names that were floating around in the ether as potential cameo appearances. Obviously that didn't end up happening, any of them at all. And while I haven't heard anyone negatively reviewing the episode because of the lack of cameos, I do think, at least subconsciously for some people, they're going to be a little bit more disappointed that there wasn't that. On the whole, I don't have a lot to say about this one compared to the previous one, because I don't think there were as many... Well, first of all, I don't think I have as many problems with this episode, because I feel like it's quite a simple storyline. I do love how that they have made the Doctor canonically queer, which we already knew through the 13th Doctor, but the thing is, the 13th Doctor being attracted to Yaz almost is less of a surprise considering that the Doctor, from mainly the 8th incarnation, played by Paul McGann, has shown some interest in women, romantically and in some cases sexually. Whereas, other than the brief kiss that Nine shares with Jack in Parting of the Ways, or was it Bad Wolf? Either or. In that two-parter, we haven't seen the Doctor really express any romantic or sexual interest in any men or male-presenting characters since then. And even the kiss shared between Nine and Jack, it was very much Jack having a thing for the Doctor. It didn't really feel like he had much of a thing for Jack beyond a bit of fun flirting. But this is very explicit, where Donna's like, oh, wasn't Newton hot? And Doctor's like, yeah, he was. Oh, am I saying that now? And Donna's like, well, you know, we kind of all suspected it a little bit. So yeah, canon bi / pan / queer Doctor confirmed. Love that. I really liked how, as the characters, the non-Dr. Donna characters, as I'm going to call them, because they don't really have names, the clones, you know what I'm talking about. I liked how, as they learnt that they started acting like the Doctor, so that in situations where the Doctor would normally get himself out of trouble by thinking really, really quickly, that now then became a problem. Like, I liked that. I also liked the solution. I liked that, you know, at times, none of even the antagonists didn't know what was going on. And so all 4 characters are working out at the exact same time as the audience. Like, that was a lot of fun. There were a few bits of exposition where I felt like it was, you know, did you need that in there? Like, I mean, I get that obviously you want to make sure that the children and the audience can understand what's going on, and, you know, but, like, you know, I do feel like it was a little over-explained in places. Not as bad as some Chibnall era episodes, but it was still enough that it grated on me slightly. But I'm being very nitpicky. Like, you know, as a screenwriter, if someone writes even one line of mediocre exposition, my brain just goes, oh, that could have been written better. Not that I could necessarily write it any better, but just because my brain just, because I look for it in my own writing, and I try to correct it there, that any time it gets through in any, like, media that I watch, I'm now like, oh, okay, that was a little over-explained, or that line of dialogue didn't fit quite right, or whatever. Yeah, it's just, it annoys me as much as I feel like it would annoy anyone I'm watching it with if I ever pointed it out. But yeah, no, as a rating, I'm not sure. I'm trying to sit with it, because, like, last week when I reviewed The Star Beast, I had a day to kind of sit with it and think on it and really mull over my opinions. I also read a few and watched a few reviews by other people, whereas with this, I'm literally just going straight into my thoughts. I haven't watched Unleashed yet, so I don't know much about behind the scenes. I haven't listened to this week's episode of the podcast either, so I have absolutely no idea about production elements. But I don't know, I'm trying to think. Do I think this is a 7 out of 10 or an 8 out of 10? I'm not sure. Because, like, I don't think I enjoyed it quite as much as I enjoyed last week's episode. But equally, the vibe is just completely different. Like, last week's was just so fun and joyous. And also just amazing all round. And it was also very familiar, whereas this was a lot darker, a lot more psychological. And it's kind of, like asking someone to compare a Pixar movie with The Shining. Like, that's what it feels like, right? Like, both are good, right? But they're just very different types of good. And so I'm just... I'm trying to... So, I guess I need to... A better way of doing it would be not to compare it to The Star Beast, but to compare it with other kind of horror episodes of Doctor Who. Things like Blink, things like The Rebel Flesh for most people, things like Midnight and Turn Left. And it's not as good as Midnight. I feel like that's the episode it's closest to in tone. It is very much like you take the body horror elements of The Rebel Flesh for most people and shove it into Midnight. That is what this episode does feel a lot like. But I don't think it... I think it is better than The Rebel Flesh for most people, but I don't think it's as good as Midnight, or Turn Left, or Blink. So, which is where I'm thinking 7, maybe 8. So maybe a 7.5? I feel like it's a nice compromise. Yeah, that feels right. A 7.5 out of 10. Like, I loved the psychological horror, I loved the creeping sense of dread, the body horror scared the shit out of me, and I would like Doctor Who to never do anything like that again, because it scared me so much, and I think that's a good thing that it scared me. I just selfishly don't want to be seeing that all the time, you know? Yeah, it makes me intrigued to see what happens next episode, because apparently Ross has described this new episode, The Giggle, as one of the scariest episodes of Doctor Who ever, which is intriguing. I won't actually be able to watch the next episode live as it's airing because I'm doing something that day, well, that evening. Luckily, I should be able to avoid spoilers though, because I won't be on my phone during that time, and also by the time I get home it'll be like gone midnight. I'll be dead exhausted, and then the next morning I've got work and I won't be on my phone during that either. So I should be able to avoid anything major, but I am excited to see how Russell is going to wrap up this trilogy. I'm excited to see Shooty, I'm excited for the regeneration, I'm very scared about what's going to happen to Donna and her family. I'm hoping that they will survive, obviously. I mean, there isn't a single companion I'd want to see dead. So, yeah, I'm very excited to see what happens and how this concludes. Yep, so that is all for my Wild Blue Yonder review. Hope to see you next time.